For the Southern California Prep Insider, I'm Keith DeMolder here for another edition of the Best of the Rest podcast, where we break down all the best of the rest of the LA City section, from 8-man to D3 to D2. We're breaking it all down here on the podcast, and unfortunately, it is the final regular season podcast here on the Best of the Rest. Brings a tear to my eye, but it also gives me a little twinkle of sorts, because the playoffs are coming soon. Next week, playoffs coming. This is the final week of the regular season, so all the seedings are going to be out by Saturday morning. Hopefully, we'll see when they're exactly released. Either way, we'll know which seed, because we'll have the final game stats. There's going to be a game on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, between, I believe, New Designs University Park and Faith Baptist. So that'll be the final game there for the 8-man. But the rest of the divisions should know where they're at in terms of the playoffs. So without further ado, let's talk about that 8-man division. Let's get to you some scores. Speaking of New Designs, they had a big 44-28 win over Discovery. 24 first quarter points from New Designs. They never looked back in that one. Big win for them. Laguna Blanca blowing out Teach Tech Charter 60-26. Sherman Oaks CES won big 40-26 over Fulton. 24 fourth quarter points to pull off the W there at Fulton. It was a good game. NVMI 34-6 over USC Hybrid. Then East Valley squeaking out a tight win, 30-26 over Sun Valley in that one. Moving on to the D3/D2 brackets. Verdugo Hills with a 29-21 win over Poly. And then Dorsey with a 54-3 win over Fremont. Santee blanking George Washington Prep, 39-0. Hollywood 34, Belmont 7. Torres with wow, I was surprised this game was as close as it was, but 12-6 over Marshall. Marshall's been blown out this entire year. I do not expect that game, Eagle Rock Torres, to be tight at all, because Marshall has been blown out by Eagle Rock, if I'm not mistaken. Huge margins there. Jordan 52, Los Angeles 22. Watch out for Jordan. Rivera 28-7 over Angelou. Roybal with another win on the year. 45-0. Remember, over Rancho Dominguez, by the way. But I don't know if you guys remember, they hadn't won a game in 4 seasons, and they come in this year. They win. I believe now it's their 3rd win on the year. So watch out for Coach Galvan and that Roybal team. Southgate 46-14 over Legacy. No surprise there. View Park blanking Hawkins 51-0. Grant 60, Monroe 12. Grant really leading that Valley division out there. Mendez 20, Bernstein 2. Chavez also with a big win, 27-8 over North Hollywood. Marquez eked out a 1-touchdown win over Contreras, 21-14. Sotomayor 19, Maces 14. And then Crenshaw with a win over Locke, 32-8. And they got a big game, a rivalry game this week with Dorsey. It's a battle for Lamert Park, a battle for Crenshaw Boulevard, whatever you want to say. It's going to be huge, absolutely huge out there in West LA, shall we say. Some games to watch for also. Enemo Robinson, 6-2, taking on USC Hybrid, 0-5. It's a big game for Enemo Robinson, really, to test themselves before the playoffs. Maybe we see some of their bench players come out, but they're easily the #1 seed in that 8-man division. Sun Valley taking on NVMI. We're looking for the #4 seed now. East Valley 2-6 taking on Fulton 4-4. Fulton really needs to prove itself in the 8-man. Sherman Oaks 5-4 taking on Discovery 2-5. So Sherman Oaks, will they be the #2 seed? Will we see Fulton maybe pull ahead? Who knows? Mendez 5-3 taking on Marquez 5-4. Two good teams with M's. New Designs University Park 5-3, as I mentioned, taking on a 6-2 Faith Baptist squad. So a big test for them. Non-conference though, so doesn't really affect playoff standings per se. But New Designs University Park and Sherman Oaks kind of fighting for that #2 seed in the 8-man. Some other games not in the 8-man. Eagle Rock taking on Wilson in a huge battle, basically for the Northern League title at this point. If a couple things go their way, we could be seeing Franklin ended up winning. It's kind of hectic over there. Eagle Rock, though, I'm expecting to win the North Division. I believe they could tie it with Franklin the way they're playing. Either way, huge game there. Eagle Rock with a huge win, and we'll get to that in a moment over Franklin. That one was not close. Chavez also taking on Monroe, 5-4 teams as well. And then Franklin, as I mentioned, taking on Torres. My apologies, as I said earlier, that Eagle Rock was taking on Torres. It is Franklin that's taking on Torres. Eagle Rock is at Wilson, considering that Franklin already beat Wilson earlier this year. Garfield taking on Roosevelt as well. A huge game there at the East LA Classic. I will be at that game. PJ Garcia, Jonathan Batista, Nicholas Delgadillo, all fantastic players on a very loaded squad offensively and defensively for the Bulldogs. Bautista last week completed just 8 passes against Huntington Park, but get this, 270 yards and 4 touchdowns. So not too shabby of a night by any means. Half of his passes went for TD. So great job by the Bulldogs last week. But you can't forget, though, with Roosevelt, they have one of the most formidable rushing attacks in Southern California, honestly, just the way they put up stats week in and week out. Excuse me. Santos Rivera, 1,050 yards, 6 touchdowns. Angel Ochoa, 428 yards, 5 touchdowns. Frankie Cruz, 1,007 yards and 14 touchdowns. This team on the year, altogether, 3,820 yards and 34 touchdowns. So, call them one-dimensional, but their dimension is pretty darn good. 34 touchdowns can't really knock that at all. And then in a contrast, for sure, Southeast this year yet to score a single point. They've allowed 334, and they have yet to score. So you got kind of a juxtaposition there. You got a really loaded offense with Roosevelt, and then Southeast, just an update on them. They have yet to score in that D1 division. We're rooting for you, though. We're rooting for you guys. I believe this is the final week of the regular season. I think you guys are going to score at least maybe a field goal or something. Either way, I'm looking forward to Southeast. I'm also looking forward to the East LA Classic. Anybody's game, really, because both teams are very loaded. Honestly, I see Garfield pulling out the W if I had to choose. They're undefeated right now. I think they stay undefeated. They just got it on both sides of the ball, and that's the difference. I think Roosevelt, sometimes they've been blown out by superior competition. I love the running game. I think they're going to try and control that clock, but ultimately I think that D-line of Garfield is just a little bit too good. Now we move on to the Game of the Week segment. We're going to break down Eagle Rock and Franklin in a moment, but also we're going to break down a game that will never be forgotten in a long time because it was, folks, I can't even describe it. Words will not do this game justice at all. Last week, Wilson won over Lincoln, as you may or may not know, 93-62. Yeah, 93. I'm going to say that again. 93-62 was the final. The Mules over. Oh my goodness. 155 total points scored. 1,325 yards of total offense, including 640 yards through the air for Wilson. It was unbelievable. Lincoln with 5 interceptions, including 3 from Sebastian Mejia. Andre Watkins, the freshman, ran for 208 yards and 2 scores. Andrew Perez also, listen to this, scored 3 times on just 5 carries. So talk about efficiency. Andrew Perez was fantastic. I'm going to give you some more stats because this game was stat heavy, and thank goodness for you coaches from Wilson as well as Lincoln for putting those stats up. Julian Hernandez for Wilson, 8 touchdown passes, 562 yards through the air. But aside from all these other kids, there was one kid that really stood above the rest, that being Jacob Olguin, who had the best performance I think I've ever seen in the city section. Best single-game performance ever. I mean, there's probably been better, but in the past 10 years, I don't think you can really top this. Receiver caught 15 passes for 360 yards, 5 touchdowns. He also added a 92-yard kickoff return TD and a 76-yard punt return TD. He did it all. There's nothing that he did not do except maybe a rushing touchdown, but when you have 360 yards on just 15 catches, is there anything more you can ask for? I don't think so. This kid could not be stopped, and it's really a testament to how good this Lincoln offense can be. Watch out for this Eagle Rock game on Friday. That said, speaking of the Rock, Eagle Rock, it's funny, in the podcast last week, I made a prediction. I said this might be the game of the year, game of the season, game of the century. Number 1 versus number 1, D1 versus D2, a rivalry, undefeated teams, and did not really turn out that way. It was a 56-6 blowout win for Eagle Rock at Franklin. It was 35-0 at halftime. 3 interceptions from Alfred Bobadilla, multiple fumbles from that offense. Nathan Corrales, by far, is the best dual-threat quarterback in the section, especially dangerous on the read option plays where he'll fake the run and then just take it himself. A couple touchdowns where he did that. Their defense as well, led by Ryan Valdez, very good. A lot of tackles for loss, a lot of sacks. Actually talked with head coach for Eagle Rock, Andy Moran, as well as Nathan Corrales after the game about what this win means to them. And it was interesting about how at the earlier, after that Southgate game, how there was an emotional interview with Moran, and now, 8 games later, they're undefeated. They beat a good Franklin team. So I just asked him, what has changed? What has changed for this team, and what are you looking forward to in the postseason? Let's take a look at that interview. For the Southern California Prep Insider, I'm Keith DeMolder here from Franklin High School. A huge win, 56-6 over the Franklin Panthers. The Eagle Rock Eagles still undefeated. Big win. I'm here with Coach Moran as well as Nathan Corrales, the quarterback here for the Eagle Rock Eagles. Firstly, Coach, I'm going to start with you. We had an interview after that Week 1 win over Southgate. He told me that it's not about winning, it's about development. What did you see from these guys tonight?
The effort was incredible. And it was incredible. Everybody was flying around with the football. Everybody was sustaining blocks. Everybody was playing as hard as they could from point A to point B. And it was really impressive.
You guys are now undefeated from Week 1, now here to Week 9, Week 10, whatever it is. Did you see your team going all the way, being undefeated like this?
Well, I think after the Southgate victory, you started seeing the possibility. Looking at our schedule, we knew Fairfax was going to be really tough. And, it seemed easier Week 3 than it does right now,
Why do you feel that is?
I think Franklin and Wilson are playing tremendous football right now. And Lincoln, I think, in our league, Lincoln really, we underestimated Lincoln. They're playing really fundamental football, and they're really well coached.
A big reason for this win tonight was Nathan Corrales. Multiple touchdowns, slinging the ball over the field. How did you feel tonight?
I felt great, but as Coach said, we have to give credit to the whole team because it was not just an individual effort. It was everyone's effort, and it was part of everybody that did it, and it's not just me.
All right, so I know you don't like to speak about yourself, but you had a couple touchdowns. What was going through your mind in those plays?
Well, I just wanted to score because it's a rivalry game, and I just wanted to get in the end zone for our team and just to motivate us more.
You mentioned it's a rivalry game. How big is it for you guys to beat Franklin?
Honestly, it's just a really big deal for us because we just really wanted to beat them, and I don't know how else to say it, but we just wanted to beat them really bad.
Looking forward to the rest of the year. Are you thinking ring at this point?
Well, we're just taking it one game at a time, and if the ring comes, then it comes. But as of right now, we're just taking it one game at a time.
One game at a time. That is the mentality. Coach, final thoughts from this game tonight?
I think this team really set a benchmark of what the effort should be every single play, and I think anything less than how they performed tonight won't be accepted. It was incredible. They were flying around with the football like there was 15 guys out there. It was awesome.
Nothing less than perfection from the Eagles, of course. They had a big win, 56-6 over Franklin. They're looking for a Northern League title next week against Wilson. That's going to do it for us here at Franklin High School. Let's send it back to the podcast. Andy Moran, a gentleman and a scholar, a great guy. As he mentioned in that game or that Week 1 win after the game, go home and tell somebody you love them, and then go do that right now, folks. Right now, right when you're watching the podcast, tell maybe the person you're with, maybe your coach, maybe the player, say, hey, I love you, because it's such an important lesson for sure in football. And the guy, something about his teachings works, because this team is 9-0. Highly rated in the top 10. In my opinion, I think they might be the number 2 best team in the not in the nation, in the section. Narbonne's good, but they just Eagle Rock. There's something about this team this year, something about this Eagle squad that really stands out to me. But we'll see come the final rankings where they stand. Big game, as I mentioned, against Wilson. It's going to be offensive. It's going to be offensive, to say the least. There's going to be no defense. Wilson put up 93 points on Lincoln, so I'm expecting at least 60 this time against the Rock. Or maybe, you know what, maybe my prediction is wrong. Maybe we see another blowout like we saw with Franklin, because Franklin beat Wilson. So maybe, I don't know exactly. It's at Wilson, interestingly enough, so Clearly, The Rock does good on road turf. I don't know. That's what makes this team so interesting, is the fact that they're playing top teams in the section in Franklin, and yet they're blowing them out. The blowouts, they're just insane. Either way, it's going to be an exciting finish to the end of the regular season. I just want to say thank you to all the fans out there for watching week in and week out for the best of the rest. We hope that we've done you guys some justice, some of these other teams that don't get enough credit. The East LA Classic, I'll be there this week. Roosevelt, Garfield. You can't not be at this game, folks. It's one of the biggest rivalries in the section. The battle for East LA. We'll be there at East LA College, the field there. It's going to be fantastic. Make sure to check out a couple games this week, folks. The regular season is coming to a close. And with that, we're going to come to the close of the podcast. Thank you so much for watching. For all of us here at the Southern California Prep Insider, I'm Keith DeMoller. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the playoffs. Take it easy.